All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to True Crime Loser. I hope you're doing well. So, folks, today we're going to talk about Aaron Carter. A couple weeks ago, Aaron's mom posted his death scene photos on Facebook, and she called for a homicide investigation. She said that it was chalked up to a drug overdose way too quickly. She said people were after him. She called on Nancy Grace to help. And the whole thing came off a little bit, yikes, lady, what are you doing? And the photos she posted are in the bathroom where Aaron was found dead by the housekeeper in the bathtub. But there's towels laid out on the bathroom floor. She thought that was really suspicious. There's poop smeared everywhere, your classic poop smear. And the bathtub is filled with green water. Anybody that had been following the Aaron Carter train wreck over the years was not surprised he died. He looked beyond terrible towards the end. I'm not proud of it, but I've been following it off and on since maybe 2019. And it's not you can't see him in the photos, but apparently there was a bunch of duster cans and also prescription peels at the scene as well. Aaron was heavily addicted to huffing duster air. That's gotta be, out of everything possible to be addicted to, one of the worst. The air that you spray your keyboard and other electronics out with, it's so bad for you. And by the end, his head looked to be a totally different shape and shrunken and shriveled a little bit. And he had all the warning signs something awful was about to happen. He had done a bunch of low-quality reality TV, like Dancing with the Stars, and a bunch of daytime stuff where he'd go on the talk show and say, I am committed to becoming sober as of right now, and everyone would clap hauntingly. So he did the reality TV. That's the first sign this person is probably going to die soon. And then he did a celebrity freak show boxing match where he boxed Lamar Odom in Atlantic City. Lamar Odom's more than a foot taller and more than 100 pounds heavier than Aaron. And Ice-T and Coco emceed the event, and Chuck Liddell reffed. And just like all celebrity boxing, in this case celebrity freak show boxing, because of how much bigger Lamar Odom is than him, it had the darkness and sleaziness and bizarreness that only celebrity boxing match events can have, and it did not disappoint. And so that's another big sign something horrible is about to happen to this person. And then the final one where it was like, all right, this is really not looking good, is one of the last live streams that Aaron Carter did was he got himself staggeringly intoxicated and then shaved his head live on TikTok. Those three, the reality TV show, celebrity boxing, and the public head shaving, that's the trifecta where you know a person's time is very limited. And just to make the live head shaving even more ridiculous, Aaron had a son recently and then lost custody to his son because of his behavior, huffing gas, the whole thing, very toxic. But he had lost custody of his son and was trying to regain custody of his son through the courts. And you would think if you're trying to regain the custody of your son, you're probably going to try to put your best, most stable foot forward. Try to say, hey, I have a very comfortable home, low key, perfect place for a kid. I'm very responsible. And Aaron got himself just wasted and then shaved his head live and then put on this turtleneck that made his newly shaven head, made his neck look even skinnier than it was at that point, and it just made it look like his shrunken, close to death head was floating in the live stream. And then he went and got a winter leather coat, like a black leather coat that was lined with Sherpa fleece, this big ridiculous coat, and he's wearing it in the live stream and his head, he just looks beyond horrible. And people are even commenting on that live stream, like, I hope we don't end up seeing that he died. And people are going, are you all right? And he goes, I'm good. I'm 5 years sober and I make $120,000 a month. And Aaron Carter's live streams have to be some of the best unintentional comedy out there. And YouTubers, I would never watch his live streams on Instagram or TikTok, but YouTubers would compile a lot of the most ridiculous moments and then post them on YouTube. And probably the best ones are some YouTuber made a couple ones that are called Aaron Carter Being a Lunatic. And the reason they're so unintentionally funny is Aaron is a pathological liar to a point where it's comically absurd. And unlike a Chandler Halderson or an Alec Murdoch, who plan their lies very meticulously, and each lie builds on the other lies, and they keep track of them, and every day they make sure whatever they lied about the day before, they keep that going, and the lies have a very specific strategy to keep an unsustainable life going while also protecting an addiction, and everything is very planned, and they have all of these balls in the air and they keep track of everything. Aaron is the total opposite type of liar. A topic comes up, he fires off a totally absurd lie about how long he's been sober or how much money he makes. Those are probably the two funniest categories. Whenever those comes up, he just, yeah, I make 100 and you can tell he's making it up on the spot. Yeah, I make 143,000 a day, or I make $500,000 a year, and everything's easily verifiable. And he'll say one thing one day and another thing the other day, and he doesn't care at all to keep track. And if someone calls him out, hey, you said something different, he just, I don't know, sorry, I don't care. And another thing is his sobriety. He would say, I'm 5 years sober, and then the next live stream be drinking hard liquor or slurring his words, or he'd be talking about how long I've been sober now for 5 years. I've really worked hard on my sobriety, and then one of his assistants would come over and not know that he was online or something. A lot of times he would just sit online and not say anything, just in a hoodie smoking cigarettes. And so his assistant wouldn't know he was live streaming, and they'd go up to him and they'd go, Aaron, hey, I wasn't able to find any Percocets, but I found you 10 Xanax. I'll keep looking. And he would go, hey, I'm online right now. Watch. And they'd go, oh, I'm so sorry. And then Aaron would go, yeah, I'm sober. Yeah, and then other times he would talk about that he was sober except for weed and Xanax and booze and Percocets. Other than that, I'm dead sober. And he'd make the podcast rounds. And one of them, I couldn't even listen to it for more than 5 minutes, was he did Steve-O's podcast. And Steve-O was really in the cage of addiction, is almost as bad as you can get if you watch those old Steve-O videos. But he would just stay in his apartment and do whippets constantly and drink, and just really was in it bad, and then totally pulled himself out of it, did all of the hard slog unsexy work to get sober and to stay sober, and really turned his whole life around. And then Aaron does his podcast, and for someone like Steve-O that actually did all the work and doesn't have to lie about it anymore and got himself to a place, it's so cringe to sit there and watch Aaron go, yeah, I'm sober for 5 years, other than weed and Xanax and pills and booze. But other than that, I'm Cali sober, and Steve-O's just looking at him. And I mean, it really was, and just duster. I think that Aaron's mom thought, because I don't think if you die from huffing duster, I don't know what it would come up as on the autopsy. So I think that's where she's like, well, what's the toxicology? But it's like he was a depraved duster addict. I had a group of friends in college, and we would go to live music together, and all of a sudden one of the girls died. I got a phone call. Yeah, Sarah's dead. And I was like, what? And they go, yeah, she was found in the closet with a bunch of duster cans all around her. No one even knew that she was huffing duster. And probably the worst condition I've ever seen a living human was back in my dog walking days. I was walking to my next dog to pick it up, and it was possibly the hottest day of the whole summer, dangerously hot. I remember the lady that owned the dog walking company sent out an email to everybody that morning, hey, it's too hot to even walk the dogs around the block today, so just take them out, let them do their business, and then go right back into the apartment and just play with them inside or hang out with them in the owner's apartment. So it's brutally hot. I'm dumping water on my head all day, walking to my next dog, and I see this guy holding a duster can, and he's sitting on the sidewalk, leaning up against a pizza shop, huffing duster, and he was out in the brutal sun, and he was sunburned, and he looked minutes from death. And I was like, oh my God, he looked like he had peed himself, just really in not a good condition. And I was walking by and looking at him like, this dude is going to die very soon. So I went into the pizza shop where he was leaning up against. I went into the pizza shop and bought a bottle of water, and I came out and I said, dude, you got to drink this and move into the shade. Do you want me to call you an ambulance or something? And he's sitting there and he looks up at me and takes a huge rip of duster and then just goes, and I'm holding out the bottle of water while he's just going, and then he slides down the wall away from me and just collapses to the side, and I'm still holding out. And I was like, all right, well, I just set the bottle of water next to him and was like, Godspeed, brother. That if I heard that he died 2 minutes later, I wouldn't have been surprised. It really is some of the worst stuff to get into. And Aaron Carter's story is wild. If you look it up on Google, it says he made $100 million when he was a kid, and he was essentially a product that adults managed. He didn't write those songs that really popped and made him huge when he was little. So it's all these adults. They got this cute kid. His brother's a Backstreet Boy. It's a strange one. And he gets massive with these songs, and he's playing stadiums and the whole thing. He amasses $100 million, and his parents spend it all gone. By the time he's grown up, even to a young adult, all of it's gone. And that's when he gets hooked on duster, going from I made $1 million as a kid to yeah, it's all gone, and now I struggle with huffing duster. That's a hell of a turn. And then they do a bunch of TV and reality TV. People call him the first Justin Bieber, and it really is true. It's hard to even remember how big and popular Aaron Carter was for a while. A lot of women my age, it's like, he was my first crush. He was my first concert. He was the first poster that I put up in my room. And then he gets old and he's not this cute kid anymore. And I think all the adults that managed and curated the whole thing were like, all right, yeah, let's find another young, cute kid. And Aaron did a bunch of reality TV and a bunch of other TV, and he gets hooked on duster. And then a lot of times childhood stars like that, they really want to distance themselves from who they were, what they were famous for. So Aaron got a bunch of face tattoos. In 2019, when I started watching the whole thing, he had just gotten a giant Medusa tattoo on his face, which made news, which he liked, and he did this red carpet with his mom, and they ask him, "You just got this Medusa tattoo. What's the story with that?" And Aaron just goes, "Well, Medusa was raped." And then he looks at his mom, and his mom looks at him like, "I can't believe this is what we're talking about on the red carpet." She looks at him with just this look of like, "Oh my God." And Aaron Carter's mom, struggled with the same addiction, delusions, toxic, narcissistic personality stuff that Aaron did. They were really similar, so they were always either totally fighting or back helping each other, or on some reality TV show acting out this big, you hurt me my whole life, but now I forgive you. They thought that everything should be worked out live on TV or in some crappy show or something. And so Aaron gets all these face tattoos and starts pretending that he's a rapper. That's what he would say on all the podcasts. He'd be like, "Yeah, I'm more of a rapper." And it's like, no, you're not. You're definitely not a rapper, which it's fine, but I think he looked up to like face, what's it called? What's the SoundCloud rappers that get all of the face tattoos? I think he tried to picture himself like that in one of the podcasts. He was like, "Yeah, I got more of an urban crowd now that I'm a rapper." And it's just like, what are you talking about, Aaron? And what was I going to say? But luckily his mom, he made like $200,000 or something on some reality TV show, and his mom made him buy a house with it. Out of all the money he made as a kid, there was nothing left, and then he makes a nice payday doing some reality TV show, and he says that his mom says, "You've got to buy a house with it." So he buys a house in Lancaster, California, and a lot of the rest of his life was just going live on Instagram every day in his house in Lancaster, wearing a hoodie, smoking a cigarette inside. He's had a bunch of dogs. I'd always feel so bad for his dogs. And what makes the live streams, other than just being a ridiculous liar, firing off absurd lie after lie, is he legitimately had multiple personalities. And that's why the compilations that people have made on YouTube, like Aaron Carter's Being a Lunatic, that's why they're so funny, because they edited his opposing personalities right together. Like, one of his funniest personalities thinks that he is a affiliated gang member with the gang Disciple gang. So he'll be like, "I'm affiliated, yeah, gang Disciple." And he makes like a sign. He goes, "Pull up, I'm a gang member. Ask about me in Wisconsin. Ask about me in Minnesota. They'll tell you I'm an affiliated gang member. Whatever they need, I got them. Pull up. I'm afraid of no man." And then it'll cut to his other personality. Will be like, "This man has made me afraid for my life. I've called the police. I've filed multiple police reports. I'm calling the FBI. I'm terrified." And then the next day, again, it'll be like, "Yo, I'm a gang member, and ask about me in Minnesota. I'm affiliated." And then the next day, "Somebody told me that I looked like a meth addict on my live stream, and that hurt my feelings. I'm scared for my life. I'm calling the FBI." There's one time where it's so cringe, but the police are there for whatever reason. They did a lot of welfare checks, or he called them a lot, and he's out there live on Instagram going, "Look, this person just said I'm a stupid idiot. Did you see this?" And the cops are beyond patient with him, and they're just going, "Well, why don't you just click off the live stream? You don't have to be on." And Aaron's going, No, I know that, but look at this. Someone right here said that I look like I have AIDS. That's not cool. I need to file a report." And they're going, just don't be on live. And a lot of it was him just talking, getting into it with the people on his live stream. Like, he would be eating a chocolate bar, and there'd be chocolate all over his face, and someone would go, "Wipe your mouth." And he'd go, "Wipe my mouth? Well, why don't you wipe your ass?" And that's kind of the level. It's definitely trash bin garbage content, but there's definitely something fascinating about the whole thing. And to give Aaron credit on something, like 5 years ago, at this point, no one wanted to work with them in music. He's got all the personalities, extremely toxic, extremely narcissistic, extremely delusional, and by himself, because no one else wanted to work with them, all by himself, he made and put out an album, and it actually did really well. A couple of the songs got hundreds of millions of streams, and it's not the type of music that I listen to, but if you listen to it, it's like, yeah, all right, I see that that's put together well, and that's good. And apparently in a bunch of other countries in Europe, it charted in the top. So that's another kind of wild part of the story, is in truly the depths of huffing duster pill hell, he still was able, before he died, to put out one more album where he wrote and produced all the songs. It wasn't where he's a kid, where these people are picking the songs for him. All right, this cute little kid, you're going to sing this and you're going to dance like this. So we got one where it was all him. He put it out, and it was really successful, which isn't easy to do. And thinking if I have anything else about old Aaron Carter. Another wild story that I want to tell you guys is a couple weeks ago, I got a text, and it said from a buddy I went to high school with, and he goes, Tyson Bradshaw was murdered last night. And Tyson Bradshaw was one of my buddies from high school, and they found his body face down in the middle of the road, shot in the head, 3 minutes from where my parents live in Grand Junction. It was like, what the hell? And Tyson was in high school and outside of high school was a real deal tough guy. A tough guy's tough guy. Other tough guys, when Tyson around, seemed to be a little bit quieter. And one time we were way out, a small group of us, way out in the middle of the desert, and just camping, had a fire going, and these two dudes on dune buggies. We were probably 16, 17 years old. These two dudes in their 30s, sketchy neck tattoos, looked like kind of meth vibes. They showed up on dune buggies and were like, hey, what are you guys doing out here? Oh, let us get a beer. And no one wanted them around, and they were acting sketchy, and we're all looking at each other like, how are we going to get rid of these guys? Or what if they start attacking us? And all of a sudden, Tyson, who drove a badass 90s Camaro, all of a sudden Tyson gets there, and I hear his Camaro, and I'm just thinking, yes. And he pulls up to the campsite, and he hops out, and he's wearing jeans and a cutoff t-shirt, and he was one of the best wrestlers in our high school. It was a big high school. To be the best at any sport was hard to do. He's one of the best wrestlers, one of the best football players, and he gets out, and he's wearing a sleeveless shirt, and the sun is setting in the desert, and no one even needed to say anything. He just saw the way we were looking at him and the way the vibe was, and he walked up to those two sketchy 30-year-olds, and he put his hat on backwards, and he said, it's time for you guys to leave. And whenever Tyson put his hat on backwards, he was about ready to beat the shit out of somebody. And I saw him beat up a couple people bad in high school. And he not only was God-given, durable, and tough as they come, but he was also a really good athlete. He could do a standing backflip. He could do a one-handed handstand and then flip to the other hand and then flip onto his feet. And wrestlers are tough. To be actually a good wrestler, not only are they strong and built and tough, but they know all the trips and the throws and the holds and everything. So it was a total nightmare. Whoever ended up fighting Tyson, they wound up regretting it pretty quick. So anyway, I get this text a couple weeks ago. Yeah, Tyson got murdered. I had lost total contact with Tyson after high school. We went different went our separate ways, never talked or anything. But for a year or two in high school, we were good friends, and the whole thing is one for the books. I got to show you guys these pictures because I think it was in 2018. So years ago at this point, my friend sends me this picture. So let me show you. I'm going to flip around and show you on my computer. 1 second. All right, we're back. So I think it was 2018, but out of the blue, I got this picture texted to me going, look what Tyson got himself into. Look at this legendary picture. So here's Tyson in the beautiful Colorado River. And here are law enforcement with the K-9 unit with rifles drawn, waiting for him to get out of the river. And how this ended up happening, this is a legendary photograph. Look at that. This was in the paper in Grand Junction. And how this happened is, I think he stole a truck, or I don't know if it's stolen or what, but something happened. He got into a high-speed chase, rolled the truck and crashed it, and then jumped in the river. There he is, in order to evade capture. And then here's this picture. Again, I cannot get over this picture. This looks like the cover of a movie or something. And then they finally got him. Where's that picture? Oh yeah, here he is. I mean, look at that guy. Just by looking at Tyson, you could see he would twist you up into a pretzel and throw you on your face. These cops are all bigger than him, but I bet it took all 4 of them to arrest Tyson. If you were to say who would be the hardest person to arrest out of anyone you went to high school with, if they didn't want to be arrested, I would have said Tyson. Look at this guy. That's a big boy right there. But look at that. Okay, I'm going to flip you back around. All right, so those pictures are from 2018, high-speed chase, jumped in the river, totally craziness. And then a couple weeks ago when I got the text that he got murdered, I reached out to a couple of my sources in Grand Junction. I grew up there. Like, what the hell happened? And a couple days later, this is the response I got. Ready? This is word for word. I just want you guys to experience it the way I did. I guess Tyson beat up a tweaker and made a mockery of him, like was rubbing his face in the dirt and moving his mouth and making him talk. Then the guy went and got his friend and murdered him. Brutal. And when I heard the part about Tyson moving the guy's mouth and making him talk, I thought, that's so Tyson. He always was a bit of a ham, but I think what happened was, I don't really know, this is all just speculation, I think he got really into the drug game after high school, and just knowing Tyson's personality, whatever game he played, he was going to rise and be the top guy. I can't picture him being a customer year after year, so I'm sure he either became a kingpin or muscle for the kingpin or whatever it was, but it's pretty sad. He was a good dude, and I'm going to miss him, and, Godspeed, brother. But what a wild story. Grand Junction is a wild place, but I'm going to cut it off there. I love you all. Why, Stiven, why? Shamita.